Hey, you guys, it's Miss Rich from over at Village Prep Cliffs. We're going to go over a few problems today. Let's go ahead and start with number one. We're going to determine which fraction goes in the box. In order to start the problem, we need to determine what our denominator is. And to do that, we need to count the spaces or the intervals that are between 0 and 1. So count with me, please. 1, 2, 3, 4. This tells me our denominator is 4, and I can go ahead and start labeling that number line. Whenever we have number line problems, we want to go ahead and label every single part of that number line, making sure that we are accurate. So I've got 0/4, 1/4, 2/4, 3/4. You can tell I love writing on the board like this, and 4/4, which is also equal, as we know, to 1/2. Okay, so we can clearly see that the fraction that goes in the box is 3/4. This is a basic strategy we're going to use for the problems when we have fractions on a number line. So let's take a look at number 5. Mason says that the fraction at point X is 4/6. Caleb says it's 3/5. Who's correct? How do you know? So when we have a problem like this, the best thing to do is to just figure out what X is and then go back and answer the question. So we're going to use that same strategy. Count the intervals or the spaces with me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We know our denominator is 5. So I'm going to go ahead and label the number line. I've got 0/5, 1/5, 2/5, 3/5, oh boy, technical difficulties, 4/5, and 5/5, which is also equal to 1. I don't know why it keeps doing that, but we're going to roll with it. Okay, so we can see that X is on 3/5. So let's think about how we would answer this question. We can say Caleb is correct because I counted the spaces in between. There were 5 parts. I labeled my number line, and the X falls at 3/5. Something I want you to think about, though, is what was Mason's error? So let's give it a minute to think about that. So Mason's error was that he counted the lines instead of the spaces. So he counted 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 lines, but that's not in fact our fraction. So Caleb was correct in counting those spaces. Our number line is partitioned into 5 equal parts. Nice job on that one. Let's go ahead and do the challenge for those of you who like to do a little bit more. So when we look at this question, which point marks the location of 3/2? 3/2 is an improper fraction, meaning our numerator is greater than our denominator, and our fraction has a value that is greater than 1/2. So same thing, we need to figure out what our denominator is on this number line. To do that, I look between 0 and 1. I have 2 spaces, so I can go ahead and label 0/2, 1/2, 2/2, which is 1/2, 3/2, and then I'm going to go ahead and just say this is 4/2, which is equal to 2/2, 5/2, 6/2, which would be 3, and 7/2. So we found our 3/2 here. This is located at B. So the way that we solved that was to figure out first what our denominator is by counting the spaces, and then we were able to go ahead and label, making 3/2 greater than 1/2, between 1/2 and 2/2. This could also be written as 1 and 1/2 as a mixed number. So nice job on that. You can give yourself a high five. I can give you a virtual high five for getting that one and pushing your thinking. Thank you guys. Miss you. Bye.